everyone, and welcome back to Religiously Nerdy's podcast. We're joined today with Charles from Beneath the Tangles. We're so honored and excited for him to join us today. We've been super heavily influenced and inspired by Beneath the Tangles and all the work that they've been doing. And we just want to know more about you and what you've been doing. And in this podcast, we're going to be talking about that as well as spirituality and anime, which is what we normally talk about, which is what the primary focus of our podcast is. So to start us off, Charles, why don't you tell us more about yourself and Beneath the Tangles?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Elizabeth. I know we connected a while back, and I'm really excited about the work that you all do. It's so much fun. I've listened to your podcast and seen your posts across social media, and it's really interesting because we're doing things that are very similar, and really kind of talking a lot about our faith and our passion for anime and reaching out to people through that. And I'm just so happy to see a lot of that happening, or maybe not a lot of it, but to see it happening out there. There's really an important place for it. I guess with Beneath the Tangles, we our kind of overall mission is we want to use kind of our kind of resources in that, like the gifts we have, kind of our interests, our maybe the people that have been placed around us, the people we have a heart for, and then primarily, of course, our passion for anime and manga and light novels, and then use that to build community that really in a way that where we can share our faith with non-Christians, and then also encourage Christians who are anime fans. So it feels like what we're really trying to do is to use our love for anime in all sorts of different ways to reach out to people. And we started doing it, I think, actually, I know, just 12 years ago, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we've been around forever. It feels like, in fact, like all the people that I thought were like the old time bloggers when I started, they've all stopped blogging. They're all on Twitter now. That's kind of how they let things go. But they've stopped blogging. They've moved on into real life, I guess. We're still stuck. We're still stuck here doing anime, and we love it. So, and in the last, I guess, 5 years or so, we've really kind of gone into the area you all have gone into, which is kind of our social media platforms. And really, for the first half of our life, it was really almost entirely blogging. And we had some social media, but that was kind of just pointing people back towards the blog. And since then, we've really used the social media as kind of its own thing, right? I think like you all do the same, where they just have social media, each platform has its own kind of strengths and weaknesses. And it's just another way to continue with the mission we do.
Yeah, so are there any other like events or activities that you guys do? Because I know you guys have quite a following, especially on Instagram. You guys are like triple digits
followers. Yeah.
You guys do any fun things? Have you ever had like a meet and greet before?
That would be really neat. From time to time, people like say we should do some sort of meet and greet, or we should do like an online kind of convention type of thing that's focused on what we're doing. And those sound like fun ideas, but a little beyond us right now. But a number of us live in Texas. That's where I am, and so a lot of the people that I've recruited are people that I've known in real life. So we can meet up, and we do sometimes. But like event wise, we've done a number of different things in the past. Like let me think. Like we watched Toradora together last year, and we used Amazon Prime. They have a watch along option, and so that was really fun. Where we took some people through that series that had never seen it before, and then we have various contests and things like that. And I think about a lot of our community building though is really focused on you all have a Discord too, but on our Discord community, right? And I think that's like when we think about doing something kind of fun to get together with people, or kind of do types of events, despite what looks like a big size, there's definitely a difference between like people who follow you and engagement, right? Like how many people are really like interacting with you. And so like sometimes like if we come up with events, it feels like we don't get the bang for our buck, But with Discord, those people are largely very engaged, right? No matter how many there are, if there's like a dozen or like, 100, those number of people are pretty engaged with you. And so instead of doing events, a lot of times we're just like, let's just invest in that community in discussion. And we have a small group that meets up weekly. We've done little contests through Discord also. So I think that's a real huge basis of our community right now.
Nice. Have you done like any conventions or anything like that?
Yeah, we do a lot of conventions though. Well, do you all go out to conventions?
Well, Tori and I go to a lot. We all do, but
COVID. So like he like started during COVID, right? But now we've been like after that, we've been going to conventions like
do you cosplay?
NYC.
They cosplay. I do not cosplay. But the first time we met was Anime NYC 2021.
Yep.
Because I live in North Carolina and they live in Michigan.
I live in
Massachusetts.
One of the M's.
That's the wrong letter. That's the right letter, wrong one. But yeah, so we ended up joining forces, and we've told the story multiple times, but like we ended up meeting virtually for a Ramadan event where everyone was spinning for Ramadan, and we were watching Avatar: Last Airbender, and I had reached out to these two asking if they wanted to help me with Religiously Nerdy, and so Religiously Nerdy had blossomed up from there. Then we didn't do anything because of COVID until 2021 when we were like, let's go to Anime NYC, and we got passes.
It was so much fun. Yeah,
it was so much fun.
It is really neat. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. We also were doing like a couple of watch parties and stuff when you're doing COVID and stuff like that as well. So
just to kind of keep in touch when we all had to stay in. That's super neat that you guys got to meet together at the convention. And I've always wanted to go to that one in particular. That one's like grown so much. And there's and you got press passes too, right?
Yeah, we have press passes. Yeah,
that's really neat. Yeah, we do conventions, and so for the longest time it was just me going to conventions. There wasn't a lot of interest in the volunteers I had around me, so I would just go and get press passes, and that was really valuable in that I connected with a lot of voice actors through that, and that's just interviewing people, and whenever I interview people, like I always think like the final product is not the article that comes out or the video or whatever. That's not the final product ever. The idea is to continue that relationship. So I always go in thinking that, and sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, but I was doing that for years. But this year in particular, it's like everyone but me went to conventions. Like that was like we suddenly had a lot of interest, like people flying across the country going to like Crunchyroll Expo, right? All over the place, like just like this deep interest in going to conventions. And then we have a cosplayer, Paris, who I kind of brought her in to be our cosplayer for like articles on our site, but also she goes to a lot of conventions, so I have her kind of cover those as well. So we're really like, there's a lot of, and we even did like conventions in England, like also all over the place.
International.
So we have an editor, and she's in England, so she's like, oh, I want to cover this. It's like, okay, let's see if you can get a press pass, and she did. So we're all over the place. In fact, it was a little much this summer. Like I was having to keep up with it all. I was like, oh, we got to launch this. I got to make sure we have Instagram photos and all that, because we want to meet our obligations to the conventions and make sure that we put up good content, right? But it was a lot, and I'm at an age now where like I don't really enjoy conventions that much though, so I was happy to have like people that are excited and maybe a little younger and go out there and really enjoy it, because I just go out there and I'm like, oh, this is a lot.
I'm starting to feel that way now.
I've
been going for 10 years, and I used to be like so much fun. Now I'm just like tired all the time.
Yeah, so I love that. You're so much fun, but now you're just tired. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I mean, even when you hit your I went to my first convention when I was in my late 20s, and I already felt old. I was like, oh my goodness, this is already passed me by. I didn't even get a chance to enjoy it, But as long as you're with friends, that helps a ton. Right?
It's always better with friends, I would say so.
Yeah. For sure.
So what are some things you're currently nerding about, like anime wise or any other fandom you're part of?
Yeah, I'm always keeping up with the anime season. So so right now, what am I liking? I'm liking I'm trying to catch up with Licorice Recoil, which has been really good. Uncle from Another World.
I heard that was really good. I heard.
No, it's kind of like it depends what it depends. Like I was just talking to one of our writers who was like, it's so boring. Like I was like, I love it. And there's oh gosh, there's things that are escaping my mind right now, but there's a few series I'm watching, and then my son and I are watching the Lord of the Rings TV show.
Oh, the Ring of Power that just came out.
Power. Yeah, so we're a couple episodes behind, but we're enjoying it. For me, it's been I think it's really good. The only thing that's really hard for me to get around is that it's not canon at all. It's like kind of like, well, at the end of the day, none of this really happened. You know,
because that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah, so a lot of it is original writing, and then they've also compressed the timeline from like 1,000 years into like 5 years, and so like it's like I'm really enjoying it, and I'm
that's
like,
fine.
Yeah,
but still make it canon. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and they're adding to Tolkien's work, and like so it's like so Star Wars, for instance. It's not just George Lucas anymore, right?
Yeah,
it's
of course.
So many people, right? But like when you go back to like Tolkien created everything and then he died, right? And that's it. So like so as I'm enjoying it, I'm loving it. And then during the week, I'm like, like did it matter? But I'm liking it enough to keep going back, and it's been fun. So and it's great to bond with my son and watch it. And but generally, I'm really liking that series. And then I plan on watching Andor. I haven't started it yet. I know the first few episodes are out for that. I'm a big Star Wars fan. So yeah, those are the kind of things on my slate. And we were talking before we started recording that the new anime season is right about to start. So it starts over again.
Can't wait for all those anime.
Are you looking for
what
anything?
Are you guys looking forward to?
Oh yeah, I was just about to ask you.
Is that what it was? What are you looking forward to?
For October, I mean, there's a lot coming back. Like Mob Psycho, for example. Like that is one of my favorite shows, and there hasn't been a season in a long time, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And then new ones like Chainsaw Man, Blue Lock, I keep hearing about. What else? Oh, To Your Eternity. That show is
that was season 2.
Yes, season 2 of that.
My Hero Academia as well.
Y'all are missing the biggest one.
I know. Okay, that's supposed to be last. It's supposed to be okay.
Okay.
And Bleach.
I know. This is so much.
Bleach, the
1,000-year.
1,000-year blood war.
1,000-year blood war.
But I don't even know where I'm gonna watch it because it's not on Crunchyroll, so I don't even know.
Yeah,
it's on Disney Plus, isn't it? See,
that's right.
Okay,
that's the thing.
The issue that I'm having here is that no one is saying of all of all the articles and stuff that have come out, no one has said, "Oh, it's definitely going to be on Disney Plus," or "Oh, it's definitely
right."
There's no,
don't know anything. Yeah,
nothing anything about it. No one's talking about it, but they're saying, "Hey, yeah, this it's going to be released on Mondays." Like, okay,
where?
I mean, the worry there is that they've got they do have a couple other anime already. Those animes have completed their run, and they still haven't shown up on Disney Plus.
I know, like I wanted to watch what was that?
Summertime Rendering.
Summertime Rendering.
Yeah, I wanted to be. I've been waiting to watch that, but it's like, where is it? Where can I watch?
So I do know that the production has happened on it for the English version. But what I heard happened, all that happened quite a while ago. So I'm guessing, if I had to guess, Disney Plus was waiting for the entire 2 core of Summer Rendering.
Yeah, because it was
dropping.
like 25 episodes long.
Yeah.
Are you
so kind of like the Netflix model. Yeah. So Bleach.
Maybe it'll be like that.
But I did hear it was simulcast.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. I heard simulcast, so that's what we're hoping for, right?
Yeah.
It's not simulcast.
No, you just miss out. You lose it. Like when Netflix is better these days, right? But when they're only a couple weeks behind now, right? But
They're
like
like 2 or 3 weeks. So
right. But when
Mhm.
they were like a whole season behind, I just forgot. Like what was that show? Hunter x Hunter, right? Was it Hunter x Hunter?
Oh,
I
Hunter
totally
x Hunter
forgot.
like left Netflix, but then came back. So I'm kind of confused about this
but
whole
it is on
thing.
Crunchyroll.
But it is
so-
on Crunchyroll, so I've been watching it on Crunchyroll. So
All right. Well,
One of
let's hope Bleach comes back. So you know,
yeah,
or
we
comes
just
out weekly. So, yeah, that's a huge one.
the things I didn't like about what Netflix did was specifically because I'm a JoJo fanatic.
Mm.
Mhm.
When Stone Ocean came out, they just released like half the episodes and just dropped it and was like, there you go.
Yeah.
And it was, people naturally are going to binge it. So you drop it, a Friday hits, no one's doing anything for the weekend except for watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean. So now
Mhm.
everyone's going to talk about it for one day. And then no one
Mhm.
talks about it anymore until they said,
Mhm.
hey, we're coming back out with it again.
No, that's absolutely right. I noticed that on Twitter, right? Like when the
Mhm.
first, I guess, core of that dropped. So
Mhm.
it was all anyone talked about for a day or two, and then nothing until like a couple weeks ago when the next set of episodes dropped. Yeah, no, that's a nice leak kind of, or a drop here and there definitely helps. Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to know, like, what is your nerd origin story? Why are you like this?
am
What
I
do you like?
Why are we like this?
How did that happen? Yeah, that's a good one. I think when I was a kid, I was I wasn't hanging. Well, okay, yeah. So I guess there was a fateful summer, if we're talking about origin stories, right? where I hung out with a couple of nerdy guys, and we and I wasn't like them. I was a pop culture kind of person. So like, and sometimes that was nerdy stuff. Like that was Star Wars, right? But it was also like it was also whatever was on TV, Seinfeld, Friends, whatever, like that kind of stuff, right? So I was really into pop culture, but they were big time nerds. And this is a long time. I'm going to age myself, but this was they were really into Jurassic Park. And yeah, the movie hadn't come out yet. They were into the book, right? And I was like, I don't read books for fun. That sounds terrible. But I read Jurassic Park and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And so I read that, and then I was into reading, so I started reading the original Star Wars. What was it? The Timothy Zahn books. So like it was the very first kind of Star Wars books for that took the original trilogy somewhere else, that were expanding that universe. And so I really got into that, and before I knew it, I was into nerdy stuff. But I wasn't into anime yet. Although when I was really little, I was watching Speed Racer, I was watching Voltron. I just didn't realize it was anime. Like a lot of us, right? We watch
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
And then when I got into college, I started watching Toonami. And I think for a lot of us too, that was a huge.
Toonami was a huge introduction.
And it still is, right? So people are still staying up late on Saturdays, I think, right, to watch that block. But yeah, so I watched Toonami and I watched Tenchi Muyo, which I thought was really weird because there was an episode I caught like the last 10 minutes of a random episode, and this girl kind of crash lands to Earth, and it looked like she died, and I was like, is this a cartoon? Like, well, what is going on here, right? Did you just kill off a character? Like that doesn't happen in cartoons. I'm used to DuckTales and And so I kept watching, and so I like that show, and then what else was on? Outlaw Star, Cardcaptor Sakura, and just a lot of those properties. And I really got into it, and then I decided I'm gonna buy a DVD. And back then there was no streaming. There was very little streaming, so you had to buy DVDs. And I was like, I'm gonna make the commitment to spend. And they were expensive. It was $25 for 3 to 4 episodes. And I was
Really?
like,
Wow.
it was ridiculous. So
what is the other one?
Good now.
Oh, it was crazy. So we really held it as kind of a badge of honor. We are real otaku because we just spent all our money on 3 episodes. It was terrible because so you'd have 26 episode seasons, and of course 4 doesn't divide into it. So you'd be like, okay, volume 5 of this DVD series is only going to be 3 episodes, and you would be dreading it, like, oh, I got to spend all this money just to watch 3 episodes. So I was like, I'm going to try it and invest some money and see if I really like anime. or if or if this is just kind of a phase. And I decided to try Evangelion, and I was totally addicted to it. And that was it. Are you
Still
not
need
an
to watch
Evangelion
it.
fan, Elizabeth?
I still need to watch it. I think they're gonna come on theaters soon. Like I've heard that they're. Yeah, maybe that will make me like actually get to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the easy way now is that the movies are it's different from the series, but it's a different story, but it starts along the same line, so you can knock out 4 movies instead of watching 26 episodes.
Yeah, I heard some of the movies like it's just like the anime, some episodes of the anime congested, but yeah.
The first movie is just the anime.
It's
just like the first like 7 episodes of the anime or something, and then it diverts to a different direction.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay.
For that key information.
Important nerdy stuff, right? So
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And then I feel like all of us here, there's also like there's a nerd, and then there's the nerd who creates stuff, and I feel like that's a deeper level of nerd, right?
Yes, I
Yes,
agree
it
with
is.
this
Like,
statement.
it's not enough for me to watch it. I gotta let everyone know what I think about it.
And I have to write fan fiction too.
That's the ultimate nerd.
Yeah, I do too. That was a huge part of like how I got into anime, because at the exact same time I was like, let me see what's out there about it. And the internet was, there wasn't a whole lot, but there was a lot of fan fiction. And so like, that's how I wasted my time. There was no manga. You'd have to go buy it at Barnes and Noble or whatever. So like the only thing I was reading was fan fiction, and a lot of it was so good, right? Like,
there were some really good fan fiction.
But the worst thing is that the really good ones, they just stop. Like,
they just like go down.
But yeah, so that was big for my journey also, and that's all this stuff like forces us into things, and then I eventually started blogging, and that was it. Now I'm invested, right? Like even there've been times where I haven't really been into anime that much, but I just kept going because of the blog, and then my kind of love for it would return. And right now is a good time for me because I like anime, I like light novels, and I like manga all at the same time. So I'm enjoying the journey right now. But there have been times where I'm like, I don't really like anything right now, but I just kind of kept blogging because I wanted to keep up with our mission, and then it would eventually come back to me.
Yep.
So were there any shows that you weren't allowed to watch because of your religion?
That's a good question. I'm sure you all have talked about it, right? Has there been anything like that for you all?
For me and Toby, like personally, I don't think our parents really like paid attention to what we
watched at all. We did not.
So we were a bit lucky about that.
So,
Yeah. Go ahead.
me, I haven't been Muslim my whole life, so I was an adult by the time I became a Muslim. So my mom really honestly didn't care. But there is some stuff that I know if I'm sitting and watching it, I'll be like, maybe I shouldn't be watching or reading this.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel bad for what I'm about to say. God forgive me. I'm going to watch it anyway. And thus becomes, we get the call of the night and its series, and it's like, okay, I see the undertones here. I'm going to keep reading this because I know when to stop. I know.
Call of the Night is like, I'm watching the anime right now, and I'm like really like it. So that's another thing I'm doing it now. But
it's like but with anime, there's like a clear, distinct line between what is and what is not.
Yeah,
exactly.
Acceptable.
Yeah, that's interesting. And by the way, Call of the Night, that was the other anime I was thinking this season I'm watching. It's probably my favorite anime this season.
It's really good. I recommend.
And it's getting better, like each episode. Like it's
I think next week is the last one.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get more. I think we're gonna get more though. There's so much production value in that series, and he's a pretty well-known mangaka. And yeah, I hope we get more. It's been really good. But yeah, I was while you all were talking, I was thinking about this. And you had Jordan Calhoun on.
Yes.
I listened to that episode, and I had read his book also, and that book more than anything made me kind of think about what we're talking about here, and how in his life there was a lot of there were a lot of restrictions, and then there was also kind of that escapism and actually I felt kind of a kindred spirit with him, because I would describe him as nerdy stuff, but also kind of pop culture. Like there was kind of that crossover in what he was watching also. But yeah, so I was like you all, Toby and Toya, and like my parents didn't care what I watched that much. They I think some of it was they trusted me maybe too much.
Exactly.
He's a good kid. He'll know what he's doing. It's like yeah. And then I watched a lot of stuff with my parents. Like I think maybe it's the same way now, but I feel like when I was a little kid in the 80s, I think people were less restrictive. Parents were a little bit less restrictive, and even maybe for you all compared to even now, like parents are getting more and more
getting more restricted,
because it doesn't feel like it's religion related, which it would have been when we were younger. But it's just kind of like, I know what's best for you. You need to do this and this and this. But yeah, I watched Freddy Krueger rated R movie Nightmare on Elm Street when I was I think 7, and it freaked out. It freaked me out. I had nightmares for years. But but even that, like, let me watch whatever. So yeah, I didn't have that problem. But like Elizabeth, I kind of self-restricted, and I noticed it kind of depended on my maturity and my faith a little bit, like, or maybe not maturity, but kind of what stage I was in. Because Evangelion, for instance, that's a really good example, because Evangelion paints God as the enemy, and he's sending angels to mankind to destroy mankind. And the heroes of the story, the heroes and the bad guys both, are fighting against God to try to stop that from happening. And so when I first started watching it, I wasn't, I drifted away from my faith. So I didn't really have a connection to religion. It didn't really occur to me. I just loved it. And then when I connected with my faith and really became a Christian, I was like at that kind of young stage where I was really passionate and I was like, I need to keep this stuff away from me. The God's the bad guy here. And so I got rid of my Evangelion DVDs. I sold them to my roommate. I had this really great box set for Serial Experiments Lane, which I really liked, and it was kind of a similar thing. And I sold that to him, and I still talk to him all the time these days. I'm like, can I buy those back? He's like, no. You can't get Evangelion anymore. You can't get the original dub anymore. It's not available. So I'm like, oh. Anyway, but so as you can see, years later, I was like, I have no problem with those shows anymore. Like as my faith has kind of changed, and I'm looking for different things and see anime differently. And I'm like, yeah. So things are different, but there are certain shows that I draw the line with, and for me, I think it has to do with am I going to kind of obsess on evil things? Like so like I don't mind seeing something, but is it going to stay in my mind? And so like so with guys a lot, I think they talk about like kind of sexual content, but for me the biggest thing is like really, really graphic violence. And like there are certain things that don't click with me really well. Like I try to stay away from zombie stuff, because for some reason I think about those images over and over and over and over. I should have stayed away from Game of Thrones, but I love Game of Thrones.
All of us love Game of Thrones. Everyone loves Game of Thrones. It's not even,
that's my other big thing. I love. I gotta tell you. So I'm also watching House of Dragons. Are you all watching that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm watching.
Okay. Well, I'm mad at George R.R. Martin because I like House of Dragons, but I'm like, you need to be writing. You need to be finishing.
Like, what's going on?
It's like, this is good, but Song of Ice and Fire has like 10 different families, right? I want to find out what happens there, right? But anyway, yeah. So Game of Thrones, like when I was telling my son today, without going into too much detail about what's that character? The guy, Pedro Pascal, who plays Mandalorian, his character and how he meets his demise, right? And that image.
Oh my gosh, that is
like I'm showing it right now. Stay with me for like a month, And I was like, I shouldn't have watched that. Like that's just causing me to dwell on things that I don't want to dwell on. So I'm imperfect about it. I'm sometimes, Elizabeth, I'm like you. I'm like, sorry, God, but I'm gonna watch it anyway.
Exactly.
But I'm better about it. There's things I know that this is not going to be good for me. It's not worth it. So
I think everyone is different too. I think it's a personal thing, not like a blanket this and this thing, because like I'm a little bit different than you. Like those things don't bother me for some reason. I don't know why, but I really, but like I don't really like sex scenes,
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I try to cut those out too. I mean,
like And it's not really even about religion. Like everyone, like I just don't want to see that. Like, so like look away or something. But it's like again, it's still like part of the story. You know, it's these are just stories. You know, it doesn't have to like.
You don't have to show that. So
yeah,
you know, little secrets of the, I guess, like for anyone who's starting a blog, like the kind of one thing that we do, you know, when we talk about SEO and trying to get stuff out there, a number of times I've put out articles relating to just this, exactly what you said, Toyin, which is that everyone's line is different. So I think the important part is to kind of be aware of that, you know, and then kind of use that to kind of consider what you're going to watch and what you're not going to watch. And I've put out like 6 different articles about that because I want to kind of cover like Google with it, so that if someone is like, how as a Christian, for instance, how do I know what anime to watch? And they'll find one of those articles, you know? And so like that's, I don't like to do the same content over and over, but that to me was really important because what we saw, or what I've experienced a lot, is people that are kind of like have this self-hatred, like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this. I shouldn't be watching this. And it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't, but that's not really the fundamental question, right? The fundamental question is why is that important to you? Why shouldn't you watch it? And are you making a choice based on what people are telling you, or guilt, or are you really making kind of an informed choice about, like, you know, your faith in yourself, you know? So yeah, I think that's a really important part of what we do when we're watching things. Are we just letting this come in, or are we allowing it, and for good reason?
When I first started talking about manga exclusively on the internet before, because I used to talk about other stuff, but when I first exclusively started talking about manga, someone actually reached out to me, and it was interesting because like the first message was, I'm glad I found a fellow Muslim who reads manga as well. Can I ask you a question? And I said, yeah, sure. And they went and they sent me this long message about how reading manga is forbidden, and how, like, hold on, how about how it's forbidden, how if some stories mention God, if they're talking about like multiple gods, if it's like also forbidden to read because of multiple gods. And the anime and the manga that they were primarily focused on, that they were talking about at the time, was Rosario Vampire.
Oh my gosh.
Which made me chuckle a little bit. And I was just like, my brain went to, it's not that deep. But for it was heavy for them. And my brain had to like really break it down to them, like, hey, just because, you know, you are reading something that has multiple gods does not necessarily mean that you yourself are worshiping those gods. And they went off to talk about how, oh, well, watching this is bad. And I was like, consuming media is what we do all the time. And if you like any other art form, then that is also bad. You shouldn't do anything.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Like that's like, it feels like you're reading an article I wrote. Like it's exactly right. Like the whole point of this article I put out like about a year ago was like, so what is, from a Christian standpoint, like, and I was talking with one of our Discord members today who's obsessing over these a number of accounts that he follows, where they are like, don't watch anime, don't watch manga, it's not godly, you know. And my point was kind of similar to yours. Well, like, what's godly, right? You know, like, you know, there's you go back to the text probably, right? So like for the Christian, it's like, it's just the Bible, right? So anything else, and I use the example of, well, if you're really going to toe that line, then all these terrible Christian movies that you're watching, those are not godly. Neither is Veggie Tales. Neither is any of this stuff, right? Because it's just, and then in fact,
honestly, even Veggie Tales.
You're saying like, what is holy, right? You know, it's not holy. It's just people trying. I mean, I appreciate it. I like Veggie Tales. It's funny, you know. But it's the same thing, and even more so. I would say that these terrible Christian films actually are way, way, way worse, way less holy actually than anime. And I'll explain why. It's because these people are trying to create something that they think honors God, but it's got terrible production values. It's creatively like destitute. Like these are terrible films, right? And how does that show like the creative, wonderful, incredible God, right? It doesn't reflect him at all. Like, in fact, it's a bad witness. It's like, oh, we're Christians and we've created this horrible film. Like, you're not glorifying God, right? But anime, these people don't know God. They've never been exposed to him for the most part, right? But they're creating something that creatively, like, maybe more reflect God. Like, look at these incredible values they're showing, the incredible creativity that's in our human spirit, right? That's bestowed upon us from God. I see a lot more godly stuff in that. So either I think, like, I understand your point of view, and either you need to reject it entirely. And I can see you being convicted by that, and I can respect that, But for us, we feel like you can see God in all sorts of different media. And that's when you have to really kind of exercise your choices and be careful and try to like kind of go along that path and see, is this honoring to God? I don't know. I don't know if this is, but I'm going to do my best. And I see things that I really do feel are honoring to God. And there's good here. There's a lot of good here.
Yeah. And again, these are all just human stories, and learning about like other people's cultures and stuff. Like, how would that not be allowed? Like, just to learn about other people's cultures and stuff like that,
I really appreciate you all, because this is what you're doing. You're exposing I think you're encouraging a lot of Muslims who do like anime and manga to understand that it's okay, and to kind of see it in different lights, and then maybe exposing people who think it's bad to open their mind a little bit. And I'm learning a lot from you all, because with our site, from the very beginning, I didn't want it to be for Christians. Like, I was like, I don't want a Christian audience. Please stay away. Not for you. I want to talk to non-Christians, right? I want to use anime to expose Christianity to you and explain it to you that maybe it's not like what you experienced growing up. And maybe it's not like these bullies who bullied you and said they were Christians. I want to show you something different. But because we're a Christian website, we get lots of Christians. I'm like, okay, fine. We'll talk to you all as well, And I think kind of the same type of things. Like, that's a really good point you brought up, Toyin, about like, we're just even learning about different cultures. How is that not like a godly thing to learn about others, and get out of our shells and learn about these people that we need to interact with and engage with. So I think that's so important.
Wow.
That's great. That was such a great conversational piece. I'm sorry, I'm just reeling off of that.
That's why we need to get together. Like, we've got a lot in common, and we're doing a lot of the same things out there, and I think there's a lot of awesome stuff going on.
Yeah, one of the main focuses is because we three are Muslims. And we know that there are other nerdy Muslims out there.
There's a lot of them.
Ramadan with them. But it's not an issue, but for the sake of wording, I'm going to say it's an issue. The issue is Muslims are like, oh no, that's not real. Muslims aren't really nerds. But then I have people come up to me. I don't know if you guys have people come up to you now, but like, I'll have people come up to me and be like, oh, well, my son or my daughter watches this. Or I actually was in the store, and there was a Muslim lady with her daughter, and her daughter was arguing with her, saying, no, we have to go to the guys section because that's where the graphic tees are. And she wanted to get like an anime shirt. And her mom was like, no, you're not a little boy. I'm not going to dress you like a little boy. And I had to explain to her, which is a different situation, but I had to explain to her, I was like, anime shirts are in the boys section. It's true. And I promise you, it's not a big deal. That's what the graphic tees are. And the girl was like, thank you. And she was like, well, I don't want her watching that kind of stuff. And I was like, it's not that kind of stuff. I promise you, what you're looking at in Walmart is the safest possible show.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah,
that's another discussion about how anime is like, oh, only boys watch anime. That's a whole nother discussion. We're all with them watching the same stuff on Toonami, okay? We're watching the whole thing together, okay? And the guys were watching the magical girls, okay? They were enjoying that too.
Yeah, like I said, my first was Cardcaptor Sakura, right? Exactly. And I felt very uncomfortable at first. I was like, is it weird that I'm watching this? And I was watching Digimon. I was like, I'm like 19 years old. Is this okay for me? You know, like, but I love.
Oh, the other things that like
Exactly.
animes for kids, it's not. Animes for
There's that
adults.
too.
But isn't it interesting how anime is like, so like because I've got that old school mentality, and I paid all my money for these DVDs, and it wasn't my generation, but like the previous one, they had to make copies of VHS tapes.
Oh my gosh,
each other.
did a
Like,
lot.
you know,
They
like,
did a lot.
it was like, we're the real otaku, and we a lot of us get into that gatekeeper mentality. But the awesome thing about anime being streaming now and so plentifully available is that you're able to start breaking down these walls, right? And like and suddenly it's like everyone watches a little bit of it, you know, at least a little bit of it. Every kid's growing up watching. It's not weird, you know. Some of it is weird, but that's okay too. But yeah, it opens up all these doors. It's just wonderful. I'm so glad about the time we're living in.
Yes. So, follow-up question to this. Do you think there are other shows, anime included, that have sort of like a spiritual following, like Star Wars? So, if we're thinking about Star Wars, there's people out there that basically worship the ground Star Wars walks on. Do you think that there are certain animes? Like, I mean, I'm in my brain, I'm thinking the big three.
Gosh, One Piece really, especially right now, because it's still ongoing, has this incredible following where it feels like idolization. Like it's just so, some of them are, and there's a few series like that where there's this incredible devotion towards it. I think if we're talking like specific religion, the only thing that came to mind, and it's kind of, and it's not kind of, it was just kind of, how do I put it? It wasn't super real, but Haruhi Suzumiya, yeah, because like, I mean, she's considered God, right? So
Right?
Basically.
yeah, Haruhi is. That's what they call them, the people that follow Haruhi. And like, I don't know what I feel about that, but I just, but that's, Haruhi Suzumiya is my favorite light novel series. I love that series so much. And a new light novel came out after like 10 years, a couple years ago.
That's cool.
I didn't know there was still more content. I did not know that they were still making content.
They've only animated about half the light novels, and so there's a lot out there.
Because I always wanted more content. So thank you for bringing it up. I should definitely like maybe look into those books, because I remember like the movie The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, one of my favorite anime movies.
Like seriously, like when you think about like, when you think about like a movie that's kind of the next part of the series, sometimes you don't kind of equate it to like a Ghibli film or something like that, right? But that one is as good as any anime movie I've ever watched. It is just incredible. It is incredible. It's so moving and it's unexpected how good it is. And we recently did a post about the light novel for that, and like, why is this so good? Why is this so good? And one of the reasons we were like,
I need to get into the light novels now. Like I didn't know about this.
Sometimes you just watch something and be like, why is it so good? Like
your blog is the reason I started reading light novels, because I had no idea what light novels were, which seems blasphemous now that I say it out loud. I didn't know what light novels were, and so I actually found a light novel, and I was like, oh, it's the manga before the manga. So
yes, it's this and this and that.
No, they can get really addicting. I didn't read light novels for a really long time, and actually I started trying with Haruhi, but like I started from the beginning, so I was like, I've already read all this. I was kind of bored by it, and then a few years ago we got connected with a couple of the publishers, and they were sending us review copies. And I was like, okay, I got to start reading light novels. And I just became totally addicted, and it's just
really
like,
quick to read
because
like, that's the point. They're light, like it's
and you're done. It's not heavy reading, you know. And they're fun,
heavy,
and then suddenly, and then suddenly you're way ahead, just like reading a manga, right? Like you're like, oh my gosh, I know so much going on. So like, so they're fun. I really like them. That's probably my favorite thing right now of the manga, light novel, anime. I like light novels a lot.
All right.
Anyway, so was there any show that really made you appreciate your religion more or anything like that?
let me think about this a little bit. How about you all? Is there one like that for you?
I would say like kind of digressing from anime. There's this Turkish drama called Ertugrul that's very like heavy on like Islamic. It's like historical fiction, not inspired by historical like true events of like the Turkish Ottoman Empire, and that's really good because it really shows like Muslim values and stuff like that, and it's for everyone. Anyone can enjoy it and really like it. It's kind of like Game of Thrones in a sense, it's politics and all of this, but like more realistic and stuff without the magic and things like that. That's something I would say that I would recommend to anyone.
And something like anime wise, just like watching like characters, like for example, Demon Slayer. There's so many characters in that show that are just like follow like values that we follow, and it's just great. Like Tanjiro and like Rengoku and everything. There's just like that's one of the animes that's like this is so good.
They're pure good people. You just want to protect humanity. Like come on. Exactly. Who can any of us do that? Like
I know.
Any of us do that. Right?
But yeah.
So
you have an answer now, or
maybe so I was thinking because maybe one series that really hits me a lot and makes me think about my faith is Clanad. And
I should see
I've heard of it. I need to watch that.
Okay, well I'll try not to give spoilers, because so what makes Clanad really interesting is that it starts out, it's in two parts, two kind of 26 episode parts. The first 26 episodes are just kind of like any kind of romantic comedy almost. Like there's nothing particularly special about it. It's just cute and fun, and it's got nice production values. It's from Kyoto Animation, so they do a good job. And it's but the last 26 episodes is when it really hits you hard, and it's Key Anime. So from Key Company, which does like Little Busters and like what else? Angel Beats, like these series that really, stab you in the heart, right? So
Angel Beats, oh my god.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So Clanad is Clanad After Story goes somewhere that I've never seen an anime go before, and I still haven't seen since. Like it really goes to like to life after high school and into things like death and aging and then parenthood and it's just killing you over and over and over again. And there's like the main character of the show. He's just a regular male protagonist, right? But he's kind of part of his background is he has a dad who neglects him and is an alcoholic, and at one point in the past was physically abusive and hurt him. And so as it progresses, this guy, he keeps getting hurt by his dad in various ways, and not actively, but because of what his dad has become, it's affected his life. And eventually there comes a point where the protagonist, becomes depressed, and he's kind of abandoned everything. And he ends up getting to a point of salvation, but it really ends up being connected to his dad. And what he discovers about his dad is that his dad was a single father and just couldn't do it. Like he tried so hard, and he'd forgotten about what it was like when he was a kid, right? And how hard his dad tried, and his dad just kept getting knocked down over and over and over, and that's kind of what led him to become an alcoholic. And he realizes that he's become worse than his own dad because he's not even trying, and there's this point of forgiveness, right? And it reminds me a lot about like the Christian journey and the need to forgive, and also my own shortcomings as a father. Like, where have I not tried hard enough, and where am I failing? But ultimately, in the end, I'm forgiven too. And so I don't want to give away too much, but there's all sorts of things that happen around that theme that help him as well. So like, I'm not a crier, but I've cried twice in kind of entertainment in my life, and one was Passion of the Christ after I watched that, and the realism in that movie, and then in Clanad, so in an anime.
It's funny how you say that, because I was at a panel at a con that said animes that will make you cry, and I was like one of them.
And Clanad was one of them. So.
Yeah, it does, exactly.
Oh yeah,
in the panel. So
And the thing is, every time I watch this specific scene that happens kind of around this theme, I like 3 times in a row. Every time I watched it, it made me cry. I was like, I've already seen this twice. Why am I crying?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah. So that's an excellent show. It's when it comes to anime for that studio, that's the high point. They make visual novels, and so there are the visual novels that are considered greater. Little Busters is a really boring anime, but the visual novel is incredible, right? So like that's what they're known for. But Clannad is the height. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Also, a little side note: visual novels are also another step in the nerdom. I feel like is like then you're playing visual.
I'm not there yet. That's
it's over for you. Visual novels and Atari games, it's a wrap. But that's a different story.
Yeah, you're in. That's when you can't let people know that you are a nerd because you're such a nerd that you're into visual novels. It's like that's life. Like, yeah, no, that's heavy stuff.
Right. So that's all the questions we have for you. And I want to know if there's any like last minute things you want to say, or just like things you want to tell our listeners about Beneath the Tangles or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think our community wants to be a place that expresses a lot of these values we've talked about that sometimes are shared commonly among faiths, that are seen in anime. Demon Slayer is incredible because it's really great to hear you all say, oh, that show, you know, the characters there embody so many of our values. And I feel exactly the same way. I mean, I wrote an article about Rengoku. Like as soon as I watched the movie, I was like, oh my gosh, you know. And you know, I think our site, what we try to do is we want to make it very much a welcome, open community, and you know, we are very we value our faith very deeply, and we feel what we feel about our religion. But part of that is we believe is to be really open. And you know, we feel like a lot of church communities are not like that. You know, they're closed off. They're exactly that one question earlier. There were so many, you know, communities pastors were famous for saying, don't go watch Pokemon. Like, what the heck, you know? What, like, you know, and Harry Potter, you know, Harry Potter was so, oh man, that's
like the biggest. Like,
oh my God, the whole Harry Potter thing.
Yeah.
My stepmother refused to let me watch it because she said I was devil worshiping.
See, there you go, right? That's what it is. Yeah. And that's not what it is. But like the idea that, like, you know, if we're not really living out our faith, I think sometimes we just emulate stuff we see in the culture. And that's happening all the time right now, right? With politics and stuff, right? I don't think people are thinking. I think they're just siding with people, right?
Yeah.
So we hope that we're getting really to the essence of our faith. And while we say we believe Jesus Christ is Lord, we believe all these tenets of our faith, we also believe that one of our core values is the idea that we want to have an open community where everyone feels welcome, because we feel like that's how Christ was. We want to love on everyone. We want to have a kind of a self-sacrificial love. We want to serve people, you know, and we're going to do that through anime, and that's what makes it a lot of fun, I think.
Oh, great. Yeah,
great.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
I was so glad to join you all, and you know, I've been in touch with Elizabeth all this time, so it's been really a lot of fun. And I thank you all for inviting me, and I hope you all keep doing what you all are doing too.
Thank you. Oh, also, please share like your social media accounts.
Yeah, please. Definitely follow us at so you can go to beneath-the-tangles.com, and you can sign up for our weekly newsletter if you don't have WordPress, and that'll get into your inbox every Friday. Facebook, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Our Twitter account is not Beneath the Tangles, it's actually Anime Tangles. So check that out. I think it's also Anime Tangles on TikTok. We just had our first TikTok video blow up, like over the weekend. It was all like 200 viewers, 60,000. It was like, so we're really happy about that. We also have, we're on SoundCloud. We have a little service called Doki Doki News. And we have Tumblr also. So we're all over the place.
Wow.
So you'll find us.
Dang, nice. Great.
Thank you.
That's it. So thanks again. And yeah, look forward to seeing more that Beneath the Tangles can bring. So yeah.
Thank you.